This is Patrick from WSOU 89.5 FM, the loudest rock, and I'm here with Tim Ripper Owens. How you doing today?
I'm good, buddy. How are you?
I'm doing fine. So let's get right into it. Your latest release is an EP called Return to Death Row. When did the making of this album begin?
Well, the making began last year. I'm not sure what month it really started rolling, started getting stuff in, but early mid-year, but we started talking about it, Jamey Jasta and I, about 10 years ago. Really, he mentioned it to me. He said, man, let's do this thing. Let's do something more of the Jugulator kind of stuff, or Beyond Fear. And he said, I love when you sing heavy. And so that kind of started. It took me 10 years to say yes. So I'm pretty busy doing other things. And I really loved the D. Snyder stuff he did. I thought it was fantastic. I thought, man, this is great stuff. And I was promoting KK's Priest Sermons of the Sinner at the time, doing his podcast. And he was like, all right, let's do it. It's 25 years anniversary of Jugulator. It's time to do this thing.
Yeah, definitely. And you just mentioned Jamey Jasta. He did co-produce this album. And, when I think Jamey Jasta and I think Hatebreed, that's not really something I would associate Tim Ripper Owens with. So what did Jamey Jasta do to make this album sound the way it did?
I mean, hey, listen, I hate to make, I don't want to put Jamey down or anything, but man, could you imagine me singing for Hatebreed? Yeah. Anyways, well, Jamey's just a jack of all trades. He he does Hatebreed, that's what he does, but he can sing all kinds of styles as well. And great songwriter and entrepreneur, and he stays busy and loves what he does. So I knew it was going to be great stuff. So I think that was just it. He loves to do all kinds of things, and I think he knows that I can sing anything he throws at me, any kind of music, whether it's hardcore or heavy metal or hard rock or growls or screams or whatever he needs. I'm going to attempt to do it all.
Yeah, definitely. And this album, it's very heavy, and I do hear a lot of thrash influence on it. And I know you've got thrash roots, even though people might know you from KK's Priest or Yngwie, bands like that. But confirm if this is fact or fiction. You got your start as the lead singer of a thrash band called Brainicide in Ohio. Is that correct?
Yeah, we were actually originally a cover band called Damage Incorporated. They spelled damage with 2 M's. I don't think they thought Metallica would get very popular. And then and we would do covers like Master Puppets and Battery, and if we did heavy metal, it was Victim of Changes from Priest, and we played Metal Church and tons of Anthrax, and then we became Brainicide, which was thrash that would change tempos and have a little jazz in it and stuff, but it was a thrash. Yeah, so I was brought up listening to that stuff, and I've sang that. The funny thing is, the style that I sing on this record is still the same style that I always sing. There's no really difference. But that's what's funny. You can sing the same and change the music, and it becomes something totally different.
Yeah, and when I was going through everything you sang for, yeah, your voice is very similar, but the music behind you, there's a really wide range there. And I was listening to the Brainicide stuff, and I didn't really know what to expect. I'm like, is it going to sound like thrash? Is it going to sound like Judas Priest? And I was like, wow, this is very heavy, very fast thrash stuff.
It was some crazy stuff for a bunch of young kids making that stuff, and this was the days you would go into a studio and you have one take and you better get it. You all have your fingers on the control board trying to mix it. This wasn't like it is nowadays. I think that Brainicide stuff would be so good re-recorded nowadays, because it's all over. I remember the Thrashers would come to the concerts and they'd be slamming on the crowd. And then all of a sudden we'd go in like a jazz part, boom, 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 and they'd be like, what's going on here? Or I would start singing normal, because, one of my favorite bands was Anthrax. And here was a guy, all their singers were singers, and here was a guy with Joey Belladonna that is influenced by Journey, and here's this guy singing this style of music over this thrash music. And I thought, this is kick ass,
Yeah, absolutely. And did you take any influence from that Brainicide stuff to the way you sing now? Because I do hear a lot of influence like in the music side, but do you ever listen to that old stuff? Does it ever kind of shape the way you perform now?
No, I just, the thing is, I just sing. I sing to whatever the song needs. If it needs really aggressive vocals, I sing aggressive. That's the thing about me. I don't go into something thinking this is the style I'm going to sing. I just sing. And again, having the versatility like I do and be able to sing any style I really want to sing. Uh, I could do death metal grunts underneath something and then have the normal vocals on top. And it's kind of fortunate that I can, and then put a super high note over top of that. So I just sing. I always say that I don't sing. I just go into something and whatever fits the song, fits the song.
Yeah, definitely. And the thrash sound of Return to Death Row, it's a little bit different from your last album, Play My Game, which is 2009, where, you were talking about Joey Belladonna. I hear a lot more of that. What was the inspiration behind this album, the sound behind it?
Well, that was just a straightforward, I wrote the music for half the songs, and it's more of a straightforward metal record, hard rock metal record. I think there's a lot of Dio influence on the voice on that one because it's just straightforward. Yeah, I mean, every record you do it a little bit different. If I'm going to be writing the music, guitar parts, it's going to be pretty straightforward and basic, more of a British Steel, Judas Priest to Black Sabbathy kind of a thing. Because that's the only way I can play. I'm not really I can write some songs. I don't call myself a guitar player. So, but that's the difference, I mean, again, and then Beyond Fear, I wrote half the music, which you could tell. Two of the songs actually went on the Play My Game record. It Is Me and the song Play My Game. That was written and originally recorded with Beyond Fear at first. So.
Yeah, and if we're going to talk about influences, we have to mention Judas Priest. I mean, you sang for Judas Priest, British Steel, and KK's Priest. And what impact did Judas Priest have on you growing up? Because I know you mentioned Anthrax, you mentioned doing Metallica covers, but what impact did Judas Priest have on you as a young musician?
They were a big influence on me. The biggest because at the time, because Rob changed his voice around, and that's how I sang. And when I first heard him change during the song, I thought this is fantastic. This is how I sing. And then hearing my other influences, my biggest influence is Ronnie James Dio, but then having influences like John Oliva from Sabotage and he does the same thing. So I've always been someone like it. And David Bowie's another big influence. It actually comes out more now in my later life than it did before. But I mean, yeah, I mean, being, Judas Priest was the first big influence on me.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm curious what it's like. You just said, I might be remembering it wrong. Did you say you would call yourself a guitar player, but not a songwriter, or was it the other way around?
The other way around.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
Yeah, I can play basic songs. Like in my live show, I might grab the guitar and play Living After Midnight with the band and, basic stuff. But I just play a little bit of the guitar, like all the songs that I wrote them, I put them down, and then I gave them to the real guitar players to record.
Yeah. And where I was kind of going with that was one of my favorite parts about this type of heavy metal singing for you, whether it might be Judas Priest or Yngwie or any of these bands, even your new album, is all the music is very guitar centered. The guitar and the singer are both the rock stars of the show. But what's it like writing vocals and writing vocal melodies for music that might be very centered on guitar, where that might be the basis of the song?
Well, it can be fun. I just did 2 records with a band called Pyramid, which Pyramid is a progressive metal band. And the second record I recorded, I wrote about half the songs. I wrote quite a bit of them, and the singing, the lyrics and vocals, and they were actually originally instrumentals. These songs he sent me, he's like, "Hey, try to write over this." And it was actually funny because there's no verse, chorus. There's no repeating parts. It was a lot of fun to do, but again, it's kind of weird because it was off time and there's a lot of craziness going on. But it was like telling a story. I would just put the song on and start singing, like, okay, here, and I would start singing through the song. Never wrote lyrics down. I just started telling a story through the song. It could be really cool to do it. I mean, I prefer to usually write, because I'm a big fan of Black Sabbath and Sabotage and a lot of the Priest, where it's rhythm guitar oriented. You know what I mean? There's these rhythms that have the space to write stuff. But it's a lot of fun to write in that Pyramid record, which just came out. It was a lot of fun.
Yeah, and you just mentioned storytelling on this Pyramid record. What stories are, like, you know, without too many spoilers, what stories are involved on Return to Death Row? How'd you do storytelling on this album?
Well, this, Jamey wrote a lot of lyrics. We wrote some stuff together, and he had a lot of these ideas. And I'll tell you, the great thing, even about when Jamey writes stuff, he does the same as me. He writes about everyday stuff. Every song's about life, kind of a lot of it, you know. I mean, Return to Death Row is written, the song, because of Death Row from the Jugular record. So it was telling about Return to Death Row.
Yeah.
And even that song has a little message of like, well, I guess, you know, you're in death row for killing someone, but yet you're put on death. You're going to die for, you know, you're getting kind of the same treatment. But it's all, you know, Silent Cage and Embattled is a great one. You know, everybody's embattled and there's something going on. And so he writes a lot of stuff, and I tend to write the majority of my songs. Are a lot of them are about just life in general, things that are going on, you know, whether it's having a hard time with life, you know, you can write about anything when you have things in your life going on, personal matters, you know, people screwing you over, life screwing you over, whatever you want to write about. And it's kind of nice when you can sit down and, you know, there'll be a lot of songs that I've written lately that's going to come out that people probably aren't going to be too happy about, but, you know, that's what happens. Things don't go your way, and you're a songwriter. Well, you're going to have a song written about you probably.
Yeah, for sure. And that was another thing I thought about when I saw that Jamey contributed to the lyrics on this album as well, because you talked earlier about singing for Hatebreed. I can't really see you screaming "destroy everything" personally, but
well, I could, you know, if I am going to write about stuff, that would be more of the angle, because I, you know, power and fans and you know, don't mess with me. That's still kind of a life situation. I could still,
yeah,
you know what I mean? It's weird. I don't write a ton about Dungeons and Dragons and things like that.
Yeah.
Which is funny. One of my biggest songs that I did was Scream Machine from the Beyond Fear record. It was the very last song I wrote, and I wrote it on purpose to say, hey, listen, I could write, Judas Priest should have me write a song. So I wrote Scream Machine about a metal monster. And then that one becomes the, you know, the rest of the record's about, you know, life and, you know, telling lies and whatever. And then all of a sudden, boom, the big one's about a metal monster.
Yeah. Do you work with people on lyrics that often? Obviously you collaborated with Jamey on this one, but is it fun for you to have other people contribute to the lyrics on your songs?
Yeah, I mean, listen, you write songs, whatever's going to help a song, you know, that's what you do.
Yeah, definitely. And I hear a lot of that on this album. You definitely worth the 13-year wait for me personally, even
well,
though
thank you.
yeah. And so Return to Death Row out right now by Tim Ripper Owens. Is there anything else you want to add?
No, they can get it martyrstore.net, you know, produced by Jamey Jasta, Nikki Belmore on drums, his brother Charlie Belmore on guitar, and Christopher Taylor Burdett on bass. So it's a great lineup, great production. It's out there at martyrstore.net, and they can get it.
All right. Tim, thank you so much for doing this. This is Patrick, WSOU 89.5.
All right. Thanks, buddy.